Very good. Welcome, everybody. Thank you all for coming. Great turnout. Very on this, relatively nice spring day. My name is Maura Isabella. I'm the chair of the Climate and Sustainability Committee here in the town of Woodside. Our committee works to just really promote things like electrification and other things that we can do to help mitigate climate change here in Woodside and also just to lead more sustainable lives. We are looking for members to join our committee. So if any of you have a deep interest in climate and sustainability and would like to help promote that to other Woodside residents, there's a sign-up sheet in the back. So you're welcome to come talk to me, but you can also indicate it right on the sign-up sheet. And anybody here, everybody here, we appreciate if you could just sign in the back at some point, maybe on your way out. There's boxes on the sign-up sheet to indicate if you're interested in the Woodside e-newsletter. So if you don't already receive that, and there's also what's the other one? Oh, a recording. If you'd like to receive a recording of today's event, we'll send a link to that. It'll also be posted on the town website. But there's going to be a lot of awesome information shared in this event today, so it might be fun to go back and reference the recording. I want to just recognize a couple of the other committee members who are here today. We have Dana in the corner over here. We have Elena. Is John here? And I want to thank Brandy, who did all the legwork getting this event set up. So thanks to Brandy. So with that, I think we have 4 great presentations. I don't want to stand in the way of that. I do just want to let everybody know we're going to focus on doing all the presentations first. So if at the end of each presentation, there's like 1 or 2 clarifying questions that you want to ask really quickly, go for it. But we are mostly going to save deep, in-depth Q&A till the end of the presentation, and we'll have kind of a panel-style question and answer session. So any kind of in-depth questions, please reserve those until after all 4 speakers have gone. And with that, I think we'll get things kicked off. Rather than introducing everybody on my own, I am going to let the panelists introduce themselves right now, and then they'll just come up one by one. Let's just start at the end with Jeff, and we'll work this way.
My name is Jeff Beeman. I'm founder of a company called Mountain Microgrids. We specialize in, should find the microphone here. I'll repeat it again. So my name is Jeff Beeman. I'm the founder of Mountain Microgrids. We specialize in off-grid as well as on-grid systems, battery, solar, and generator, and tying them together into a pretty fancy hybrid system. So we can do extremely long-term power outages, like at my house, probably 60 to 90 days with no PG&E power in an all-electric house, and everything works. And then, of course, I did electrify my house over the first 5 years that I owned it. So I went from a house that was 80% propane to 100%. So I can also answer questions on that side, too.
Steve Schmidt. I'm a resident of Los Altos Hills and on their environmental committee, and founded a company called Home Energy Analytics about 15 years ago. And we provide a service to all PG&E customers. PG&E pays us. They pay us if and only if our customers save energy, and they measure how much energy they've saved. So it's kind of a win-win-win. We're all motivated to do the same thing, and then it's to cut your bill. We've recently started focusing a lot on electrification, because that's a huge impact in terms of climate change. So we can also help you analyze your existing energy use and what it would take to electrify your home. So I'll be talking about that. I've also electrified my home and cars and golf cart, you name it.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you so much for inviting us to be here today. I'm Kirsten Andrews Schwind. I'm the Associate Director of Community Relations and Climate Equity at Peninsula Clean Energy. I'll tell you more about that in a moment. I grew up in the hills, just a little bit south of Woodside on Skyline Boulevard. So I am familiar with long power outages. My dad still lives up there and has long power outages. But I currently live in Pacifica.
Hi, I'm Nancy LaRocca Headley. I live in Menlo Park, and I'm the local resident who's recently electrified her home. So I finished that journey last summer. I also serve on Menlo Park's Environmental Quality Commission. I was the chair last year. and am involved with Menlo Spark, which is a local nonprofit for climate change, and also 350 Silicon Valley. So in those roles, I've been very involved in outreach and supporting other people in their electrification journey. So I can speak to both my personal experience as well as what I've learned supporting others on their journey.
Great, thank you. Without further ado, I'll invite Kristen.
Okay, and again, I would like to thank, first of all, is this mic working well enough? Okay, you hear me? Okay, great. Thank you, Maura, for inviting us today and the Environmental Commission for organizing this event. And also thank you again, Brandy, for organizing this event. It's great to be here with you in Woodside today. All right, so let's get into Peninsula Clean Energy. We were founded by all of the cities in San Mateo County, cities and towns, plus the county, to fight climate change in 2016. So we are a local public agency that we are your climate ninjas here in San Mateo County. And we're here to make it easy for everyone to do what we need to do to get off fossil fuels. So being a public agency, our board is made up of one elected official from each of our member agencies, including a city council member for a town council member here from Woodside. And so we are a local community-led public agency working for you. And what that means is that we have saved all of our customers $185 million on electricity bills since 2016 through our discounted energy rates. And we have reduced emissions from electricity by 98% during that time. So it's working. And in the end, we tell our customers, you're saving energy, you're saving money, you're saving energy, you're saving the climate, and you didn't have to do anything because it's an automatic benefit of living here in San Mateo County. So what is it? Oh yeah, in Woodside, I've got the number for you specifically, $2 million in savings on energy bills specifically in Woodside. Okay, so how this works is we work behind the scenes from PG&E and we buy all of your electricity. So we contract for electricity from new renewable projects, new big solar arrays, new wind or retrofitted wind projects, geothermal, some small hydro. It's all clean sources, 100% clean sources. And then that comes to you through PG&E's grid because, of course, PG&E owns the grid. So we do what's called electricity generation, generating all of your electricity, and PG&E delivers it to you. So it's a partnership that way. Great. And we have two products. Our default product is called Eco Plus. And when I say default, that's because everybody in San Mateo County is automatically enrolled to receive our energy mix instead of PG&E's. And that's a good thing because currently our rates for electricity generation are set at 10% less than PG&E. So that's where that giant savings comes from. It all adds up. Our savings has ranged from anywhere from 5 to 10%. Currently, it's at 10% for 100% cleaner energy at a discount. And you can see our energy sources right now, a lot of hydroelectric, wind, solar, and geothermal. And then for folks who want to opt up to a product that has all wind and solar and doesn't have the large hydro, we have a project called Eco 100. You have to you have to actually choose that. Unless you live in the town of Portola Valley. I don't know if you have any Portola Valley residents here. The town council of Portola Valley, back when they joined Peninsula Clean Energy, voted to have all the Portola Valley residents automatically enrolled in Eco 100. So that's your default choice. So anyone in Portola Valley can choose to have Eco Plus instead. And it's a penny more per kilowatt hour. It's a small premium. Okay, so the takeaways, we save you money on your energy bill. It is not an extra charge. And if you have any questions about that, you can contact us at our call center. And I've got a sample bill here to kind of explain that. A lot of people see Peninsula Clean Energy electric generation charges on their bill and they think that's an extra charge. That's why my bill went up. Get that off my bill. And so it's not an extra charge. It's really just your bill itemized in a different way to reflect the two roles that PG&E and Peninsula Clean Energy play. So PG&E has their line for electric delivery charges. That's where you pay PG&E just to maintain the grid. And that's the more expensive part of electricity, is maintaining the grid. And then you pay Peninsula Clean Energy for generating your electricity. And you don't pay PG&E for generating your electricity. You only pay them to maintain the grid. You pay us for the actual electricity. So that's why you have those two line items on the bill. So that's kind of, yep, there we go. There's the Peninsula Clean Energy line item. There's the PG&E line item for the maintaining the grid. Okay. But it's definitely electricity rates have gone up over the last several years. I'm sure everybody has felt that. I do have a good tip for folks, and maybe some of you know this already, but this is a good tip. Most folks in California are now on what's called time of use rates, which means electricity is more expensive from 4 to 9. And the reason is because we now have a lot of solar on the grid in California, which is fabulous during the middle of the day when the sun is shining. But as the sun goes down and that solar becomes less productive, and people are maybe coming home from work, cooking dinner, doing all their chores, their laundry, running the dishwasher and so on. There's a lot of demand on the grid just the time when like the solar production is ramping down. And that creates some stress on the grid. And so in order to provide some market signals to people to use less electricity during that time, that's why the rates are higher from 4 to 9. So, so definitely if you can do the laundry, run the dishwasher, charge the car at times before 4 or after 9, that's a great way to save on your energy bill. So we have a bunch of energy programs to help people transition off of fossil fuel, because your electricity is completely fossil fuel free electricity generation on an annual basis. And so when you have all that clean energy and you want to fight climate change, the best way to do it is to transition off of using fossil fuels in other parts of your life to going all electric and using that clean energy for all of your energy needs. So here's a breakdown of the local sources of greenhouse gas emissions in San Mateo County. Transportation, obviously the big chunk there. So if you can get out of a gas car and into an electric car, that is a huge win. Or of course, like, driving less in general is also a huge win. But then look at that big chunk of the pie, methane gas in buildings, 33%. That is generally from, actually, I'm gonna do a quick quiz. Can anybody guess what is the home appliance that generally in California, in Bay Area homes, uses the most gas? The water heater. Yes, the water heater is the quiet villain of climate change. Nobody thinks about the water heater. It's the water heater. So the water heater and then the furnace are the two big ones. There it is. Okay, that was my next slide. The water heater, almost 60% of the gas in your house, and then space heating about 33%. And then you got your dryer and cooking and so on are much smaller. Though I do want to say that the cooking has an outsized impact on health and air quality in your house. And this is a very scary statistic, that living in a home with a gas stove increases children's risk of having asthma symptoms by 42%. Because burning gas on a gas stove creates benzene. It's a carcinogen, and so yes, there's actually a ton of public health data on this. So even though gas stoves are a relatively small amount of the gas that's used in a house, it has an outsized health risk. So the great news is there's wonderful alternatives for all the ways we use gas. I replaced my gas water heater with a electric heat pump water heater a year ago. Guess what? My water's hot. I never noticed the difference. It doesn't really, as long as the water's hot, it doesn't matter like how it gets hot to most individuals. I love my electric car. It's, love not going to the gas station. So in many ways, like the alternatives are better than the gas, things that we used in the past. They use less energy, they're safer and healthier, they're climate friendly, and they have great features such as like that induction cooktop there is so much easier to clean than a gas stove. And so it used to be that going all electric in your home was kind of a pain in the ass. It was difficult. You had to figure out a lot of things and so on. And we are solving for that. Our goal is to make electrification cheap and easy, and maybe even easier than replacing your gas thing with another gas thing. So what that means is we have just launched a new suite of energy programs. If you want to electrify your house, you can just call us and we'll be your general contractor. We will work with you. We will come out, assess your house, figure out what your needs are, give you transparent pricing, and then of course you're welcome to get other bids to compare pricing, and then we'll handle all of the other contractors for you, and apply the rebates and make sure you're getting all of that done really as easily as it can be done. And if you're just going about your life and then suddenly your gas water heater breaks, we will get you hot water within 48 hours. You have a new emergency water heater replacement program. So now going electric for your water heater is actually going to be easier than replacing your water heater with gas. Just call us, or actually we call our hotline for our plumber we contracted with, Fuse Electric. They have a 24-hour hotline. So any hour of the day, you can call them and tell them my water went out, and they will replace your water heater with an efficient electric heat pump water heater. And you'll have hot water within 2 days. If you have some sort of weird situation where it's not easy to put in a heat pump water heater within 2 days, they'll put in a replacement gas water heater while they figure out how to put in the electric water heater. You'll end up with a electric water heater in the end, but you also end up with hot water again within 2 days. So making it easy for everybody. And then for folks who face a lot of financial challenges, we will actually electrify their houses for free. We will replace all of the gas appliances with electric appliances at no cost for income qualified residents. So that is an amazing program for folks who do qualify for that and do minor home repairs while we're in there. So that can include heating and cooling, new furnace, new stove, new water heater, new dryer. While we have access to the house, it's actually cost effective for us to go in and just replace all of the appliances. So, and then if you're not income qualified, that's fine. We still have rebates for everybody, whatever your income level. We've got a $1,500 rebate on the heat pump water heaters. We've got, I'm not sure these numbers are 100% accurate right now. So in fact, we should be looking at the incentive finder on our website, because I think the heating and cooling rebate changed. It's a couple $1,000s rebates for each of these things. And we have a 0% loan. So that means if once you've applied all the rebates to your project, and if you still have some out-of-pocket costs and you'd like to finance those on your PG&E bill, you can finance those at 0 interest and just pay it back monthly on your PG&E bill. So you're not going to find interest rate like that anywhere else. Again, making this cheap and easy. And then we also have rebates on used electric vehicles. $2,000 rebate, but that's just really the tip of it's a tiny slice of the pie, I should say, because some income qualified residents, when they stack all of the incentives that are available from us, from PG&E, from the state, from the feds, sort of, maybe, like you never know what's happening with the feds. But, but from everyone else, when they stack all of the incentives, they're getting on average right now $20,000 in incentives on a used electric car. So for example, there's a customer who bought this 2018 Chevy Bolt, great car. And once they included all the taxes and so on, that customer paid $300 out of pocket. So that's an income qualified program, but if you know folks who may qualify for that, no one's going to give you $20,000 to buy a gas car. You're only going to get that for an electric car. So it's to the point where like buying used electric cars is actually the most economic way you can buy a car right now if you qualify for these incentives. We have a new feature on our website. It's a rebate finder. And we have we're contracting with a company that's putting all the rebates together. So this will help you find not just our rebates, but all the other rebates and utility discounts out there. So you can put in whether you're a homeowner or a renter, your income, your city, and it will feed you everything that you are eligible for. So it's very fun to go on there, see the thousands of dollars that are on the table for you to electrify your life. And if you have questions about your billing, of course, call our call center. We also have an EV advisor service for folks who are thinking about going EV. And now we have a electric appliance advisor as well. We have a building engineer who is simply there to answer your questions about going electric. So whether you work with us as your general contractor or not for going electric, you can always call our advisors, our going electric advisor service with any questions you have about the process. And that's what I've gotten. Again, thank you for being our customers, and go electric.
Okay, hi, I'm Steve Schmidt. I mentioned my introduction before. I'm going to talk about energy efficiency in this home intel program. I just want to stress, though, that I've been electrifying my house over the last 6 or 7 years, and I had 8 gas devices that I had to replace. I got some great incentives, and the incentives keep getting bigger, but I think we might be right about peak incentive. So I would encourage you all to do this now and get these great incentives. I just got $500 for finally taking out my gas meter. Who gives you money for taking out a gas meter? This is great. So anyway, so I'm going to talk about Home Intel, which is a program my company runs for all PG&E customers. And I want to mention first that Home Intel began back here in Woodside, which you'll see here is an agenda from a meeting in this exact same room a very long time ago. And it was, I was working with Maura and Brandy at that time too. They haven't changed at all. I am much grayer now. So this has been going on for a while. We've had, right now, kind of a current status, there's about 245 Woodside customers that use our service. There's about 6,000 in PG&E and PCE territory that use Home Intel. And there's over 36,000 now across all of PG&E's territory. So it's an online service that any of you can sign up for. It's totally free. As I mentioned, we make money when you guys save energy and lower your bills. That's the way it works. It's a very innovative, called a P for P program, pay for performance. PG&E only pays us if you guys save. The way it works is first is to go through this online process where we analyze your smart meter data. PG&E installed smart meters many, many years ago, both for electricity and for natural gas. And we can disaggregate. We can use analytics to figure out where your energy is going and how your house compares to other similar houses. So first, we teach you about where your energy goes in your house. And then we help you prioritize where the most waste is, because every house has some energy waste. So it's just a question of figuring out where it is and what you can do about it. Then the next step is just, it's up to you. You take the next steps. And if you're stalled for any reason or confused about anything, we have energy coaches to help with that. So at a high level, energy comes from three main causes in your house. The house itself has certain energy use characteristics, whether your furnace is efficient, whether you've got highly insulated windows, or whether you've got leaks in your house, that's called infiltration. That affects how much energy your house needs to keep you comfortable through the seasons. There's also the stuff you plug in. We call them plug loads. And it turns out, especially in Silicon Valley, there are a ton of plug loads. So it's all the stuff you have plugged in around your house. And it turns out that has a huge impact, especially on your electric bill, but also can be your gas bill. And then your behavior. Do you turn off lights when you leave the room? Do you leave the TV running all the time? There's all these different, like pet doors. People leave pet doors open all night long and don't understand why their furnace is running all the time. So it's a huge variety of issues, but those are the three main categories. And what we can do by analyzing, excuse me, your smart meter data is we can kind of clump your energy use into these different categories and tell you which of your categories look like maybe there's some extra waste there that you can tackle. So just looking at an example pie chart of a home's energy use, we split the energy use, both electricity and natural gas, into these different categories. This is a chart that we end up using a lot. And it's basically your annual energy use for the past year by month, right? The summer is always in the middle of that chart, and January is on the left and December is on the right. And the different colors represent different types of energy use. The y-axis, the vertical axis, is dollars per month. So this is a way to show you where your energy is going. And this is just an example profile of a home, but every home's profile is different. It's like every home is a snowflake in terms of energy use. So you really need to understand where you are. And we can, yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Yep. So the other thing we'll show you in each of these categories is how you compare to other homes. So not just across California, but also similar homes, whether they be in your neighborhood or similar occupancy levels or similar age, stuff like that. Wait, what did I say? Okay. So I wanted to just go through a couple of cases where we find what we call leaks, opportunities to reduce your bill. And there's a couple different main categories. One is just stuff that's kind of been forgotten about. So top left, or yeah, I guess it's your top left, a pool pump timer that was disabled at one point. Maybe somebody was working on the pool and they just changed the timer. $8,000 a year because the pump was running full time, 24 hours a day. Next one on the right, a fan that was set up in a crawl space, couldn't be heard, just left on, running for a year, just a huge amount of money there. These space heaters, the electric space heaters, sometimes people forget about, and they're really inefficient, a bad way to heat your house, especially with current electric rates. So if you leave a couple of those things on, you can really waste a lot of money. Same thing for the fan setting on a thermostat. It's a simple switch. You just set it to run all the time. Sometimes you don't even hear it. Just leave it on all the time. This happens pretty often. Then there's just surprisingly inefficient things. So top left, you've got outdoor lighting. If they're the old style bulbs, they can be really expensive, especially if you leave them on all night long. So one of these houses was $700 a year. I actually have the top right, there's an example towel heater over there. Someone gave it to us as a gift years ago, and I've kept it and just showed it just to show it off. That thing, you might notice, has a plug but no off switch. And many of these in new homes are built into the walls, and they're in the bathroom, they're just hanging your towel. There's no off switch. And that one uses 130 watts of power. So little in today's energy rates, that's going to cost $500 a year just to keep your towels warm. Maybe it's worth it to you, but maybe not. Then I also have an example, hot water recirculation pump. These things are terrible. They're running continuously, and they're using not only electricity, but they're forcing your water heater to constantly reheat the water that's running under your house in a loop. So many homes have these things, and the owners don't even know. We came across a poor guy who was about 90 years old, and he'd been living in the same house. His recirc pump had been running continuously for 40 years. He didn't even know it was there. So old fridges are also particularly bad. New fridges are extremely efficient. So you can get a new fridge for $500, and it would pay for itself replacing an old fridge just in a couple of years. And then this idea of just using energy and not getting anything back. So there's a bunch of these hot water dispensers that some people have in the next to the kitchen sink or in a pool building or whatever. Those things can be incredibly inefficient, and if they're not used, you're just wasting electricity. Electrically heated floors, also, some of them run all summer long, which is costing a lot of money right now with these high electric prices. Whole house audio systems, we've found a number of these things where the homeowners just never use them. And yet there's an amplifier in some closet, and notably, the closet is always warm. So this is just a lot of waste. And then depending on when you charge your EV or when you do your laundry or whatever, this time of use pricing that we talked about can really make a difference in terms of how much money you're spending for your electricity. So in the past 4 or 5 years, we've also helped customers understand how they can electrify their homes. We can predict for you how much your utility bills are going to change if you electrify your furnace, electrify your hot water heater. You move from basically a gas fuel to electricity, and in the process, switch to a much more efficient device. So we can definitely help with that. We can estimate the impact on cost, energy use, and also the carbon footprint. And I think that's pretty much it. So PG&E promotes our program to their customers, and they've analyzed that we're saving about $350 per year per home. Larger homes, they did a study for us in Atherton, and we're saving $2,000 per year per home in Atherton homes. Woodside homes are probably just about the same size. A lot of energy. And let me see, and I think that was it. So I look forward to questions later on.
Okay, hopefully, yep. Still in the same position. So I'm, again, Jeff Beeman from Mountain Microgrids. I specialize in home backup power systems, renewable energy, just all sorts of different things. But this presentation will cover backup power mostly. So I moved to Skyline Boulevard, just south of Alice's, about 9 years ago. And I fully electrified my house and cars over 5 years. And so I went from a house that was 80% powered by propane and multiple propane fill-ups per winter to a house now where for the last 2 years, I've used 5 gallons of propane. I actually had to, I double checked my instruments because I'm like, something's wrong here. And sure enough, it's still at 78%, 2 years after my last fill up. Couple other notes about this also is the fact that I increased the comfort in our house. We don't have drafts anymore. The temperature is consistent. It's consistent across all the rooms, and I dropped our power bills 30 to 40% during that period of time. So it's like the electrification, air sealing, insulation, everything else. It all goes. You have to look at the house as a system, and if you do, there's a lot of reward in terms of efficiency gains you get out of it. A couple of little things. I retrofitted my garage to be fire resistant. So we put a whole bunch of material in there to help prevent fires, both from inside EVs, et cetera, as well as outside. And also I'm a big fan of the redwoods, hiking, and just getting out there. So love the area, love the community. So very, very quick survey. Show of hands, do you have a generator or backup power system at home? Most of the room. How many power outages did you have in the last year? Seeing 3, 4, 2. We'll talk. Longest outage that you can remember in the last few years? 4 days, 2 days, 2, okay. And are power outages holding you back from electrification? The fact that right now, if you have a gas house, half of it still works when the power's out, versus if you electrified everything, maybe it wouldn't work. So I fall into all these categories. In 2023, I think it was the longest set of power outages we had. We had 13 and a half days of no power at my house in my neighborhood. The longest outage was 5.5 days. At 5.5 days, even if you have a 500-gallon tank of propane with a whole house standby generator, you ran the tank dry. And that happened to about maybe a half dozen of my neighbors. And then when the electricity comes back, presumably your house was heated with propane, you ran the tank dry. You're not waiting for AmeriGas or whoever to come by and fill it up. And that could be a couple weeks. And so these microgrid systems and just energy backup systems avoid all of that. So the question is, why backup power? Home is our haven. I really see it as kind of a safe spot. And again, when you have storms and other type of stuff, it's not like you're going out, you're coming back home, and you want that to be safe and you want it to be comforting. And having backup power really gives you that at home. The second part is power outages. They're both increasing in frequency and in duration. I've been tracking this for about 12 years now, and it definitely spiked in 2022 and 2023. But I'm seeing with my customers and a lot of other people at this point, the frequency of the outages. It's like we're having short outages either by scheduled outages for maintenance, tree work, et cetera, or their new disruption, like kind of safety systems that they're putting on the lines will cut power anytime it sees like a branch strike one of the lines. And that's been taking out an awful lot of neighborhoods, even for a few hours until PG&E inspects and brings the power back. The last part, of course, is with electrification. Even gas appliances require electricity. Your furnace is not going to run without a generator or some kind of power backup. So as far as the different options that are out there for a power backup, they span. You can have tiny power backups that are literally a battery. So I've got a couple examples over here. That little light tower, that is actually both a light source. It can work independently. I've got it plugged into a little camping battery right now in EcoFlow. But that also can be standalone, and it could actually charge your cell phone. Way up to on the top right side over here, you see whole house batteries. And so there's a whole big span of different products. So I've tried to simplify it and break it down to 4 basic categories. And this is definitely a way oversimplification, but it gives you an entry level as well as all the way up to the max solutions. So here's like one of those portable camping flashlights that I mentioned. And so this can actually, not only can you charge it from another camping battery, but it can actually charge your cell phone. And so it works both directions. The portable power bank over there also can be powered by solar and charged by your car. And so I really consider this kind of the essential system. Everyone should have at least one or a couple of these things for emergencies. And keep it in your car or keep it accessible so you've got it. It's basically like a first aid kit in my mind. And the pricing for a lot of these can be very approachable. And I'd also put a little emphasis on that car charger adapters. I think that everyone should be able to basically charge their laptop and a cell phone from their car. And just spend that $15 or $20 and get those cables and the right things in place. Because in an emergency, if you have to leave your house for any reason, you'll be able to charge your cell phone and other key stuff from your car very, very inexpensively. So the next level up, I consider this kind of a manual power backup. And so here's a portable gas generator setup or a camping battery. These often require extension cords that need to be hooked up, and they're typically covering individual appliances. It's not the type of thing that would like back up most of your house. I mentioned it's manual. It takes time to hook up as well as to put away. And so that can be kind of a resistant thing, or one of the things that holds people back, especially during an emergency is, oh, how do I set this up? Or, oh, I didn't tell my kids or my wife how to do this, and it often doesn't get set up. The other thing too to note, just a really cool hint, battery, these little camping batteries, if you are backing up DC only, as in not the AC part of it, it lasts twice or 3 times as long. And so if you don't turn on the AC backup, I can get like 2.5 days of backup, like light power or like thousands of recharges for my cell phone out of one of those camping batteries. Versus if I did it AC and then plugged in the same phone charger, it wouldn't last a day. Portable generators are noisy, high maintenance, and require fuel. So just for those of you interested in that, I kind of see them as kind of crippling just because there's, during most outages, those tend to be the ones that don't start or haven't been started recently. The starter battery's empty. They're convenient, but definitely high maintenance. Two things though that will turn a portable generator or a small generator into a much more valuable system in my mind. Hint number 1, adding a gas connection to your house, quick disconnect. If you've got natural gas or propane, if you have a quick disconnect like this, hook up to your portable generator, you don't have to store fuel on site anymore. You hook up that connection, turn on the gas valve, and suddenly you've got either on natural gas an unlimited fuel source or on propane. Again, through a portable generator, it's weeks worth of backup power. And you don't have to go to the fuel station, you don't have to fill things up, and you don't have to store something on site that's flammable. The second hint here is install a 50-amp generator inlet, or PG&E has these behind the meter collars that will allow you to hook a portable generator in. And it can actually, with that one change, and again, it's probably less than $500 install, even if you hired an electrician, you can actually now back up your house. Of course, if you fired up a major appliance like a dryer, you'd overload the generator. So you have to be very specific about what you're backing up. But even a portable generator is powerful enough to do your furnace, your lights, Wi-Fi, all the basics and the necessities. And you could even run, say, your dishwasher or toaster or microwave, just as long as it's one of them at a time type of thing. So now we're starting to step into the bigger systems. These are both more expensive, but they're also tend to require permits, installs, and one of the biggest things you achieve here is they're always grid connected and they're automatic. And so with any of the options that I've got on this slide, the second power outage happens, it kicks over automatically. You don't have to flip any switches, disconnect anything, just everything works. But I kind of break this category into 2 levels. Partial home backup, and this is smaller backup generators or batteries that only, say, do critical loads, so part of your house. And then stepping up into the whole house backup systems. At whole house level, greater than 12 kilowatt in my mind, continuous. You've got the big standby generators, and one of the biggest things for me, I'm like, they're convenient. I know a lot of customers, I know a lot of people around here have them, but they're noisy, they're smelly, they do require maintenance. And the one thing that's been catching my attention is the amount of power fuel that they burn. They're very inefficient when idling, and so they'll end up leading to about $130 per day in propane or natural gas. And that's an awful lot to pay just to keep your house backed up, in my opinion, especially if it's a multi-day outage. But again, if you're doing shorter outages, I think that they're a tool and it definitely works. And then the last option here is a whole house home battery system. And the kind of adjectives get cut off there, but they're quiet, they're cheap to operate, and they're like at that size and this price, limited in capacity. So part of what ends up happening is, so imagine you've got a bunch of big backup batteries, power outage happens, the first thing you're thinking about is energy budgeting. What appliances or lights can I turn off to try to extend that runtime? And that takes us to the final solution, which this is where I kind of consider the best of all worlds. And it is a combination of solar, battery, and a generator, which I've called a microgrid, but by technical definitions is a nanogrid. And then of course, if you've got roof space and you can get sunlight, solar is definitely a huge add-on there because it extends the battery's runtime. Or if you size it appropriately, you basically don't have a power outage. Like, it doesn't matter anymore, especially during summer months. You can go like days, weeks, months with just the battery and solar. The one key thing that I found very, very interesting when you pair a generator with a hybrid battery system like this is an 80% reduction in generator runtime. So when I have a power outage at my house or any of my customers' homes, the first day or two, they're completely on battery. The battery is a seamless switchover. They don't even notice the power outage. And then on the second or third day, the generator will run for 2 hours, fill up the batteries, and it's good for another 2 days. So it's a massive, massive increase in the efficiency of the generator and reduction in runtime. So what is a microgrid? Microgrid is an independent energy system that can disconnect from the traditional grid and operate autonomously. So this means that for resiliency, it can island itself from the grid during an outage. It's also self-sufficient. It generates, stores, and manages its own energy. And you can even have it do smart things like turn off your EV charger or turn off the hot tub when there's a power outage, but keep everything else running. And it would just do that automatically. Savings. When it's paired with solar, the thing pays for itself in like 7 or 9 years, and it reduces your bills every month. Sustainability, lower carbon footprint. With the battery, you can shift when you use power, and so you can actually charge up the batteries off solar power, if not your own, then just from the grid. In which case, when it goes to peak or when it's in the evenings where we're using higher carbon electricity, you just don't even use it. And then reliability, having the multiple forms of backups really increases the chance you're going to have backup power. And so having just the battery or just the generator, I think that the combination between the both of them gives you more options to keep everything running. So again, the main components here, battery storage, I think, is really the essence and the essential part of the system, and then the energy management system. And then optionally, but all very beneficial, solar panels, backup generator, EV charger. This is a really interesting one. We're right on the edge where they're going to be doing a thing called vehicle to grid or vehicle to load. And your EV, an average size EV battery pack is about 70 kilowatt hours with a battery. That's almost a week worth of power for a normal average home. And even all electric home, that's 2 days worth of power that's in your car. And so being able to hook that into these systems and recharge your battery packs and potentially drive out of the area to an area that does have power, supercharge your car, 20, 30 minutes, bring it back, and you've got another 2 days worth of full house battery backup. Can't do that with a generator. The last two things are definitely optional in my opinion. The smart electrical panel, there are definitely some advantages there, but that is definitely only for certain people that really want to dive into the data. So I covered a couple of these things already. 80% reduction in generator runtime. A really cool feature is it recovers power in 10 milliseconds. I often don't even, unless I'm looking closely at a flickering light, I don't even notice the power's out. I'm getting a notification from PG&E saying your power's out, and I'm going, is it? And that actually happens a lot of my customers initially when they get the systems installed, is that for the first time, especially if they left an EV charger or something else that we didn't bypass, or a hot tub or something else like that, they'll go into the power outage and everything operates normally. They don't even notice it. And so unless they have a notification on their app turned on, they don't notice power outages anymore. Another part of this is time of use shifting. And so we can use, again, the battery to, you can run on battery power during peak time. And so you're not paying those peak rates. And so I had a customer actually just reach out to me last week, and he was like, this is so cool. I did not expect this, but I'm saving $1,500 a year because of the battery system. He was on an EV rate plan, and he had no battery, and he had a massive solar system, but the solar would peter out every day at 4 or 5 p.m., and that's just when the peak rates hit. And now with the battery system, he's saving $1,500 to $1,800 a year. Redundancy, mentioned that already. Generator doesn't even run during less than 8-hour outages. I try to design the systems to do 24 to 48 hours on batteries. And so these scheduled PG&E shutoffs, you can ignore them going forward. The system automatically recovers it, and an 8-hour outage when you've got 24 hours of capacity means you don't have to budget or worry about anything. Just continue as normal. And then I mentioned the solar reducing your bill. Most of the estimates I'm putting out, I see a 7 to 9 year ROI where the system is paid for itself by reducing your bills. And then the last point, if you have a 500-gallon tank of propane, if you're on propane versus natural gas, and you have a backup generator, this battery system turns what would have been a 5-day backup, 200 gallons worth of propane, into 30 to 90 days worth of backup power.
All right. It's always amazing to be in the company of so many experts. Thank you all for sharing everything that you've learned over the years. So I'm here to talk about my own home electrification journey. Let's see, big picture wise. So I said I live in Menlo Park, so I don't have the mountain major backup issues. Our neighborhood has been pretty solid in terms of not having too many outages. But at a high level, so we have our main house and the ADU. So we've electrified both of those with different water heaters and different HVAC systems in each. We have 2 EVs, we have solar and a battery backup system, and actually an induction cooktop and a very awesome washer dryer combo, which if you haven't heard about these things, they're kind of amazing. We can talk more about that if you're interested. But what I mostly wanted to talk about was the journey that I've been on and some of the learnings that I've had over the years. And we can talk about any of the specifics either during the Q&A or afterwards. All right, so some time ago, probably in college, I just committed to living in a sustainable way. And of course, that's evolved as technology has evolved. And in 2019, our family purchased our first EV. So that was a big deal. And then in 2020, I was part of it was mostly a group of women, and one of our friends is an environmental advocate, and she was encouraging everyone to electrify their homes. And this seemed like a totally new idea for me. But she was like, you know what, you can do it. And so what we did was we created a vision to actually electrify our home fully and to provide for all of our electricity needs via solar. And the strategy that she encouraged us all to adopt was to make one big change a year. And that just seemed more manageable from an energy perspective, like how much energy I had to do it, as well as not the solar or anything else, but also money. So we said, well, we'll do one big thing a year, and if we have any extra money, we'll go faster. And then I began the assessment because, as you were saying, Kirsten, I think you were saying, like, you know, at that point, I didn't really know how my appliances were powered. I just knew that they worked and I didn't have to think about them. So I had to go on a little treasure hunt to figure out what was gas powered, what was electric, how old each of these pieces were, and how did we want to like strategize. So we had imagined wanting to do the HVAC system first because I think we got information that that was more of a greenhouse gas emitter, but now I'm learning tonight that it's actually the heat pump. But our intention was to do the HVAC system first, but our water heater died first. So we had an emergency water heater replacement. So things kind of switched around in our plan. But the next step in terms of actually proceeding was installing solar, and we're on NEM 2, which is the previous net energy metering program. We're up to NEM 3 now, which has very different buyback rates. But I'm going to share some of my PG&E rates because it sounds like there was some interest, or not rates, but like what I've been paying over the past few years. Just know that your mileage may vary. You'll probably have a very different experience if you're getting solar today. But that was a big deal. And then in 2022, we did a whole bunch of stuff, primarily because I joined the Environmental Quality Commission in Menlo Park, and it really landed for me how important it was to fully electrify my life for us as a city to meet our climate action plan commitments. So, and I also didn't know much about this. So I said, well, you know what? If I'm going to ask everybody in Menlo Park to be doing this, I need to learn how to do it. I need to do it myself so I understand what the challenges are. So I dove in and we purchased our second EV. We actually used the used EV program because our daughter was turning 16 and I was not about to buy a new EV for a teenage driver. And it was great. It was really great. We installed a power wall as our battery backup and then that heat pump water heater. And we began working with James Talea of Home Intel, who works with Steve. Yeah, James is amazing. So I guess what I want to say here is, well, we had the plan to do the HVAC system first, but it was like right before Christmas, and I think our hot water heater died. And yeah, it was a problem. So I would really encourage all of you to find out how old your hot water heater is. If it's getting close to 10 years, make a plan to have a replacement. But what is new is I didn't know that PCE now has the electric or the replacement program, which is amazing because that did not exist 2 years ago when we were in all of this. So PCE is kind of amazing. So take advantage of all their resources. All right, then in 2023, we transitioned the HVAC system and, ooh, okay, this washer dryer combo, does anyone have one? Okay, they're amazing. It's like one machine, you put in your dirty clothes and it comes out clean and dry. And of course, if you want to dry something, solar, your delicates, you can stop it after the wash, cycle and take anything out and then start the dryer. And it uses, the one I have at least uses a 120-volt plug. So you don't, and it's also ventless. So you don't need to connect it to a vent. You don't need to have, an electrician come out to do it. You just, call Home Depot and they show up and plug it into the wall. It's kind of amazing. It also saved space because our water heater situation was, for our main house, we have a split system where the heat pump is outside, but the tank is inside. And that was because we had some special design challenges. And this route is a little bit more expensive, but we needed to make room in our laundry room for that indoor tank of hot water. So initially we had a washer dryer standing thing, and I think the dryer was electric, but a 240 volts, so it was very expensive dryer. Anyway, so this new combo has replaced those two systems, and it's working great. We also electrified our ADU using a different type of water heater, and what we used for the HVAC system was a little bit different. It's simple, it's a smaller space. So we used so it didn't have ducts. So it was a ductless mini split. And it looks just kind of like any of these systems. It's a recessed system into the ceiling, and it just looks like any other vent. And it's kind of amazing. My parents also have their home fully electrified. And there's one part of the house that has a hard time getting to the temperature that my mom wants. So they have one of these ductless mini splits just in that room to give a little extra oomph. All right, and then the last thing we did was last year, and that was the induction cooktop. And frankly, I kind of wished we had done it first because it's amazing. And once that was done, we joined Actera's electric home tour. And so people come, and that's actually a really great way to learn about the different ways people have electrified, and in particular, how they've solved some of the design challenges that you may be facing. So I went to that a couple of times over the past couple of years, and it was really fun to be having my house on the tour. And actually, okay, on Tuesday, PG&E is coming out to remove the gas meter and turn off the gas at the street. I know, it's so huge. And I did not know about the $500. So I'm going to talk to Steve later to find out how we do that. All right. So in terms of our PG&E costs, here's how it's looked over the last 5 years. We essentially don't really pay anything because of the solar and the battery backup. And I think there was some other credit because I was like, why haven't I gotten a bill from PG&E? Like, why is it not coming through on my credit card? I was a little worried. I was delinquent. But yeah, I think the solar, the battery backup really helps. But as I said, we're under the NEM 2 plan, and NEM 3, they're buying energy for people that are on NEM 3 at a lower rate than NEM 2. But that's also all being discussed at the state level. There may be some changes even to NEM 2 and NEM 1. Annual, those are annual numbers. I know, right? It's kind of crazy. Yeah, it starts off big, gets smaller. I have a smaller home too, so it's about 2,000 square feet total. And then this is a snapshot of the Powerwall. And you can see how much power we're generating and how much we're using at any time, which is kind of cool. So the yellow part there, you can see that you're generating more solar, obviously, in the summertime and using more power as I think it was was it your graph, Steve? Showing we're using more power, especially after we electrified the HVAC system in the winter and the summer. So in terms of key learnings, I would just encourage you all to make a plan and really think about the appliances that need replacing and when. And if you're thinking about rebates, it's good to take pictures of your appliances before and after so that you can get all the money that's coming to you, and track your journey so that you can share with other people. The other thing that made it really a lot easier was to ask for and to let in support. So from experts like the people up here, but also having family and friends on the same journey has made it a lot easier. You know, I like for the last induction piece, a friend and I, for both of us, it was our last piece. And we're like, okay, let's go down to Davies Appliance Center together and look at these things. And we just needed to like kind of hold each other's hand to like make that last step. And then in terms of saving money, I did not do this, but I would encourage you to do all the electrical work at once because the electrician comes out, just gets it all sorted. You can look into, well, Home Intel is an amazing source for all of the technical efficiencies. There's a concept out there about the watt diet, which helps you upgrade without having to upgrade, or sorry, electrify without having to upgrade your panel, which is both time consuming and expensive. I'd also encourage you to look into your rate plans. There were so many things I didn't know at the beginning of this journey, but James at Home Intel helped me understand all of it. And he'd look at our data and he's like, Nancy, what's going on Sundays between 5 and 8 p.m.? And I'm like, oh yeah, that's when like our family members come over for like Sunday night dinner and charge their EV at our house. Right? Totally. Yeah, yeah. So I'm like, I think that's just going to happen. So I'll just pay the extra money. But the other thing that we found, so we had the ADU and we had a gas water heater in the ADU, and we hadn't really been using it really at all for, I mean, really like 20 years. It was like my husband's kind of home office, and you know, he didn't really use it that much. But the gas water heater had been on for 20 years. And so we're like, okay, let's actually just turn that off. And yeah, I would not have known that without James's help. And then I found that the battery, so we have one Powerwall. And what I learned in the one outage that we've had in the last couple of years is that, well, it's not enough of a battery to fully, you know, charge, to fully not electrify. You essentially can't run the cooling or the heating system if you want to keep it going for more than a day. But if we had two, it would probably work just fine. Or maybe we do the propane backup. Maybe I'll be calling Jeff. But what it is really great for is for resilience and for the cost shifting. So the sun fills it up, you know, it's filled up by 10 o'clock in the summer, stays filled up. And then at 4 o'clock, when the energy gets more expensive, we draw from the battery, and it just happens every day. And it's been great. I wanted to share a couple of resources. These were the installers that we worked with, Emerald Eco for most of our electrification, also Fuse and Freedom Solar. There are a lot of community groups supporting people on their journeys. So Actera's Electric Home Tour. There's also a next door group called Home Electrifiers. And there's a lot of people like me who've done this, but also people who are actually experts in the field. And you can throw in your design challenge there and they'll support you in figuring out answers. Family and friends, I mentioned before. And then, well, we have Home Intel, PCE. I've got to add to the slides our mountain grid team. But also the Switch is On is great for Incentive Finder, especially before PCE's new Incentive Finder. For planning, Rewiring America and Quit Carbon are great. And Bayren also has some good rebates. Okay, that's it.
All right. So for our questions with the panelists, we're gonna ask folks to just come ask your question at the microphone right in the middle here. We just turned it on, so feel free to just pop up, and we'll have any panelists who would like to answer are more than welcome. Anyone want to be brave and ask the first question?
Just a quick question. That last slide, if you can put it back up again, take a picture.
Oh, I think I have the other. Yeah, there we go.
Thank you very much. I've been driving EV since before 2008. I thought I knew a lot, but I learned a lot tonight. Jeff, why don't we use currently an electric car for a backup battery system and not having to endure the expense of a backup battery and a generator?
So a lot of this is coming down to regulation and the complexity of a car feeding power into your house. If you think of, if you have a generator already, it has an auto transfer switch that makes sure that the generator can't backfeed the grid. And that basically doesn't exist for EVs yet. So the EV needs to have certain equipment set up so that it can kind of separate or island off the house from the grid and then power it using the car. And as far as I know, Tesla is the only one that has one of these available with the gate with their Tesla Gateway. And the only car that is on the market that I'm aware that even has this and is in beta is a Cybertruck. And then Ford also released their thing, but it's pretty expensive. You actually have to add a whole battery system and everything else, and all their gear. It's another like 12 to 15 grand worth of install stuff. And then of course buy an $80,000 truck. So I don't encourage everyone to go out and do that. But yeah, it's definitely coming. There's a lot of talk in the regulation side of this, and the hardware. I'm seeing a lot of betas, but I haven't seen anything publicly announced yet.
PG&E is running a small program with like about 100 homes in PG&E territory with the Ford F-150 Lightning. So they're running this vehicle to home program. And there's another project in Baltimore also, but it's getting started. I totally agree. It's going to happen. It's just a question of when.
And there's one other little bit too. Having the generator at home is kind of interesting with an EV. During our long power outages, I can actually charge my car from the generator. I don't encourage that, but it's fascinating that just like, okay, people are having trouble filling up the gas stations and I just go home and plug in and everything works. So.
Thank you for the talks. I already signed up for both the PCE consultation and the mountain microgrids. A couple years ago, I had a consultation with Bayren, and I've recommended that to other people. I think they're no longer doing that. So I guess PCE, is there any relations there, or they've kind of taken over that? I thought that maybe PCE recommended me to Bayren, I forget.
Yeah, we probably did. And Bayren's program, so Bayren, folks who are less familiar with them, stands for Bay Area Regional Energy Network. And it is a network of local counties and cities that offer energy services. And so we have a close relationship with them. So I think, yeah, they used to offer a home energy service. I'm not sure they do anymore, but now we basically offer the same service. So come to us if you live here. And thank you for signing up for that.
And then when you say that you do essentially like function as a subcontractor,
Mhm.
is that for small projects as well as large, or?
Oh, general contractor.
Or, sorry.
Yeah,
general.
so for electrifying the whole home. So the experience that Nancy described is the experience that folks had to, pretty much had to go through a lot of self-education to fully electrify their home. And we're solving for that because we realize that not everyone's going to be as dedicated as Nancy in learning all this. And you shouldn't have to, really. So if you get excited about doing the right thing for the climate change, for the climate, just call us, and you don't have to learn all of that stuff. Nancy just mentioned design challenges. You don't have to worry about that. We will figure it out for your home, give you clear and transparent pricing, and then if you want to go ahead, we'll go ahead and just do it. So you don't have to go through that whole process of self-education in order to electrify your home.
So if someone like only wants to do a water heater, will you find the contractor and do it? Oh, great, thanks.
It's big.
Hi, my name is Rebecca Witter and I live in Woodside and I thought I was pretty savvy, but thank you so much. I feel like a dunce. And one of the things that I feel really badly about is 2 years ago, we put in brand new HVA system in half of our house. It was $28,000 for three mini split systems. And they promised $6,000 to $9,000 rebates, which once we got the system in and running, which was almost a year and a half of errors and problems with Atlas Trillo. Do not use Atlas Trillo. They still have never told me where to get the rebates, how to get the rebates. So I guess my question is it is there some retroactive program that we can prove that we bought this HVA system and
Interesting.
never got any rebates from them through Home Depot or Atlas Trillo?
And when did you install this?
Well, it's a long thing. They
Over years.
started installing
Uh-huh.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
They installed the wrong size system.
Oof.
Then they brought that back. They put in another system. It still doesn't heat the room well.
Yeah.
It's in the ceiling, so the ceiling's hot.
Uh-huh.
And where 5'2" is cold because it never gets down far enough. There's not enough fan action. It was just bungled for a year and a half, and we didn't take out anything for a year and a half till we were proven that the old system could then be replaced by the new system.
Yeah.
And it's still not. I mean, it cools okay, but it's just in the heat, which is the most of it. I mean, in the Bay Area, you need more heat than you need cooling. It's just been a very expensive disaster. And I was wondering if there's any retroactive rebate system or, I mean, if you prove that you did put it in 2 years ago and these people just strung you along and didn't do anything other than make errors and have to come back and correct them and not return phone calls and stuff
Please
like
do
that.
talk to our energy advisor about that situation.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you all for all the information. It's really been wonderful. We were the first, I was telling Jeff, we were the first in Woodside to have solar. And we've had solar on all of our abodes. We were the first year that Prius came out. We had one of the first 250 Prii. We've had a Prii ever since. We have two now and we love them. Those are great. So if you ever want a good, reliable car, plug-in or hybrid, get the Prius.
Just before coming over here, I was working on my taxes, and there is a federal tax credit for money you spent in 2024 if it was related to it, installing a heat pump. So you could at least get some federal credit if some of the money was spent last year.
Hi, I have a question. Do you get many renters that use your services?
Yes, absolutely. We'll handle mobile homes, renters, apartments, anything. And it's really just analyzing the electric meter use. So as long as you're paying for your electricity and your
Yes, yeah.
natural
I mean,
gas.
as a renter, I pay for my own PG&E bill, but
Yep. So
I live in a very inefficient house, so, I'm not gonna invest
Yep.
in the house upgrades, but maybe the appliances.
please try Home Intel.
The behavior piece of that Steve talked about in his presentation, some of the recommendations you might get might have to do with that.
Thank you.
And I'm working with a couple different landlords that actually built my system on and then figured out a financial way to like credit their tenant or get like their tenant to basically make the monthly payments to them instead of PG&E. So that's another option too. Again, with battery and solar, and if you take the house where you've reduced the bill down to nothing. But again, to incentivize a landlord to do that, typically there has to be some kind of financial incentive. And so for the two landlords that have done this, we modeled it out and I'm like, the thing will pay for itself in 7 or 9 years. And they move forward with it. They took the financial risk and then their tenant's just paying them back based on the energy usage.
But if the renter is the one that pays the PG&E, it's hard to argue that there's any real incentive for the homeowner.
This was the case in both of these.
Hmm.
So the tenant was paying it and the homeowner realized they could add value to their house, reduce the climate
Mhm,
impact, have a backup system. It was just like win-win-win everywhere. And so they moved forward with it.
Mhm. Thank you. Thank you for your presentation.
Yeah, and one more thing. Of course, at some point, your appliances are going to break, and the landlord is going to have to replace the appliances anyway. So at that point, they should be considering whether to put in electric appliances, because they're going to have to, someday they're going to have to buy new appliances of one sort or another. So you can of course refer them to us to see what they're eligible to call our energy advisor and think ahead about replacing those appliances. Also, on our rebate finder, we have an option to choose whether you're homeowner or a renter. Choose renter, and you can see all the things you are eligible for. So that includes the resources that Nancy has on her slide, the switches on incentive finder. We have all those resources now built into our rebate finder as well. So you can go to one place and look for rebates that you're eligible for as a renter.
Great. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name's Kate. I live in Woodside, and I was just wondering, what is the lifespan of the battery walls, like the Tesla battery walls, are the ones that you mentioned that you're
So it depends
using?
an awful lot on the battery chemistry that they used.
Okay.
And so the first two generations of Tesla Powerwall uses the same battery chemistry that they use in the cars. It's called NCA or NMC. And it's pretty well known to last about 1,500 charge cycles. But you don't typically use an entire charge cycle every day. And so that can probably get you like 10, 12 years, no problem.
Okay.
The systems I've been putting in, when I founded this company 2.5 years ago, LFP was a new battery chemistry. And I have actually done 100% LFP. I've not used any of the other chemistries. My manufacturer recently upped their cycle count to 7,000 cycles. And when you charge it 20 to 80%, like I set up all my systems to do, they say it's nearly double that. So I'm looking at things that are like, I mean, I'll probably BMS systems and some of the other electronics will fail. At probably the 10 or 20 year mark. And I'm already planning to hopefully get ahead of that and be able to maintain them and repair them in the field. But I'm looking at these battery systems as 20 to 30 year systems,
Wow. And
cycled daily, fully.
what happens when it reaches the end of its useful life? Does it get
Take it
recycled?
off the wall. And there's a beautiful company. It's actually founded. The founder was here in Woodside, JP Strobel, one of the co-founders of Tesla, and he founded a company called Redwood Energy, and they're based in Nevada, and they're recycling battery systems.
Okay.
And so you take it off the wall, give it to them, or have them haul it away, and they'll recycle it.
Okay. And another question, another topic, talking about the contracting work that you guys have done. I always thought it'd be really cool to put like a shade structure up where I, need a shade structure and slap some solar panels on that,
Yep, we do
assuming
a
the
lot of
panels
that.
can be recycled at the end of their useful life and it's all green and all that. But do you guys do custom stuff? Whereas if I design some kind of a shade structure or like a breezeway or something with solar panels on it, you can get an architect, structural engineer to sign off. Would you guys be able to construct something like that?
Not at this point. So our general contracting sort of services are
Mhm.
specifically for replacing gas appliances with electric appliances at this point.
Okay.
So so custom build for solar sounds very cool. Not what we're doing at the moment. So
Okay.
it's replacing gas appliances with electric appliances.
And are you a nonprofit
We are a government agency,
government agency?
so which means we do not make any profits. All of, if we have excess revenue, we invest it back into the community.
And are you then competitive with other general contractors who would do similar types of?
We think
work?
so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Terrific. Thank you. All
Yeah,
of you
we have
so
a
much.
ton of data on the pricing because we run rebates,
Uh-huh.
rebate programs. So we have thousands of installs that we have the pricing on. So we're pricing our services to be competitive.
Okay, this has been a great program. Thank you all so much. Really learned a lot.
And I've got partners on the carport side of things that'll do a full service.
My question is somewhat related. I have a concrete tile roof, and I don't really want to put solar panels way up on top of it. So do you do that kind of work where you take the tiles off and recess them?
Yeah.
Good.
Oftentimes what they'll do is they'll pull off the tile from that section and then put a roof membrane underneath of it
Right.
and then build back the solar on top of it.
Yeah, yeah, because I think it looks much better than
It's
having them.
more recessed in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. Appreciate it. This is great.
Thank you very much. It's great. I'm Dana and I live in Woodside. And I'm thinking about doing an ADU conversion. And so I've really been trying to think through the heating and air conditioning. So what is the best? This will be a totally new system, so nothing to retrofit. So just, is it radiated heat? What about air conditioning? Any comments I'd love to hear.
You building it custom? Or is it a?
Conversion. So definitely heat pump. Definitely make sure you get a heat pump in there. And then again, there's so much variety in terms of hydronic, air to water. I mean, it really depends on the design that you're trying to go with. But heat pumps, like one of the other really cool things I just recently figured out, if they're oversized, especially if it's a fully variable system, they're actually more efficient. So if they're run at 20%, so like 20% of their max load, they get even more efficient that way.
Just going to say, call our energy advisor.
In a big decision is whether it's central or not. So whether if you're going to run ducts or just have individual units. So that's kind of a first decision.
In our ADU, we didn't have ducts. So in our main house, we had a ducted system already. So we just used that when we installed the heat pump. But in the ADU, we didn't have ducts. And they were like, there's no reason to install them. So we did the ductless mini split for both heating and cooling. And it was great. Ductless mini split. We used it was a Mitsubishi. And we worked with Fuse. They were great. They knew how to do it. They were ready to go.
And my house has both forced air and mini split heat pump. I threw it in 2 years ago to measure it and see how it did. And interesting enough, the mini split's in our living room, which is central to the house. Again, small house, 1,200 square feet, but all the rooms are in arrangement out right around the living room. That one mini split keeps the entire house hot or cold. I don't even need to use the furnace anymore. So if you're looking for a way, if you have the right space in the right house, you could even abandon in place your existing gas furnace, just add a mini split in the right spot. And my furnace now runs, just recently I changed it, so it runs like 30 minutes an hour as an air filter. It redistributes the air and the warm air from that central room into all the other cracks and crevices, which made it way more comfortable. There's tons of brands. Again, Mitsubishi's a good one. Mitsubishi, I actually have, it's a weird one because I'm doing DC power, so that's worth mentioning.
So in addition to a whole house forced air system with ducts, we've talked about mini splits, that's called a mini split because there's two parts. One inside usually goes up on the wall and the other one's outside. There's also this thing called a P-TAC, which is a single unit that goes against the wall, has a couple of holes that go to the outside. And it's something that you would have seen in lots of old hotels, this kind of obnoxious loud thing. Well, we just installed one of these in our guest bedroom, which is brand new. It comes from Italy. I was telling Kate about it earlier. It's called an eFoca, and it's just beautiful. It's kind of expensive, but it works great.
Is it a window unit?
Goes right against the wall. Like a radiator, but it's really pretty. eFoca, EPHOCA.
I was just gonna also advocate for the split unit. We live in Woodside, but we ventured into buying a 1914 built house, so it can get very drafty and very cold. And we do have ducts, but we also put in the mini split. We did the Bosch, mostly because my husband's German, so we had to buy Bosch. But we did it in the house with both the heater and the mini split. Absolutely love it. Best thing ever. It heats up very quickly. Also, you can switch over to AC, so that 2 weeks out of the year that you do need AC, it does cool the house down. I also have a ADU, which I've turned into a home office, which is probably only about 400 square feet. So it's one main room, but does have a pitched A-frame sort of roof. And I have a mini split in there as well. And, you know, when I walk in, it's basically like walking into my freezer. But 5 minutes into my first meeting, the whole place is warm. I absolutely love it. So it's, and then you turn it off as soon as you're done with meetings, and that's, the house goes cold again. So it's good. Love it.
I want to say thank you also for lots of really good information. I have 14 years in electric cars. And I have a NEM2 system, and I'm going to build an ADU. So now I'm trying to figure out, is that going to be an NEM3 system, or can I extend my NEM2 system over to the ADU, or what's the deal?
So the only way that I know of is basically you can put the new solar and a new battery system under NEM3. And it's, they'll keep the part of your solar system that is NEM2 separate, and it's grandfathered. And so the new system cannot feed back to the grid, but it can generate solar, fill up its battery, and use the battery consistently. And that way you don't lose your NEM2 status.
And I think there's also, you can add a certain amount to it.
It's tiny.
Is it tiny?
10%, 1
10%.
kilowatt.
Yeah, seems to be, that's why I was asking, because I'm getting these different answers. They seem somewhat ambiguous. You know, I can throw some more panels into the existing system, but how many?
Here's the problem I run into that. I've had a number of people ask me about that.
Uh-huh.
It is not worth the truck roll.
Okay.
It'll find it very hard to find a solar company that's going to come out and add 1 panel or add 2 panels and match the racking and do all that stuff. You'd spend a lot of money.
Okay.
And especially if you're trying to, again, do this correctly, which means permits and design. Ooh, no, it's a lot of engineering and one-off stuff.
All right, good to know. Thank you.
Sounds like a good DIY project.
Yeah, it does sound like that, doesn't it?
And throw on
Okay.
4 panels. Wait.
Right, any final questions? All right, well, with that, I think we'll wrap up. Thank you, everybody, for being here today, and very big round of applause for all of our business. Thank you so much for being here. That's so wonderful for you to share your personal. It's fun.
What I understand, I'm not an installer.
Hi.
I do sell equipment, but sort of like politics. So I know different parts of the thing.
But I'm not a solar expert, but I'm a mechanical engineer and connecting all these things. It's just gotta be.
Additional.
And one time, with existing solar panels, you probably already know this, if one panel goes out in a string, you lose the whole string. Yeah. So I haven't really heard good stuff.